So if you've been in your local smoke shop here recently, or even a lot of gas stations here in the United States, you've probably noticed a lot of these new legal mushroom products being sold. Sadly, these things are starting to hospitalize people.
Back with a warning from the CDC tonight to stay away from mushroom chocolates and gummies that have sent some people to the hospital.
So you're probably wondering, like, what's in these mushroom products? Are they even legal? How are they legal? Why are they hurting people? And today I'm here to distill down all of this knowledge so that the average bear can understand it, because this is a pretty crazy phenomenon going on right now within our country, and I do believe that most of it can be avoided with sort of proper education. I am not joking. These products seem to be everywhere nowadays. I live in Kentucky, and it seems like I can't go to a gas station or a head shop without seeing some of these behind the counter. There's a bunch of different brands with this kind of like vague and trippy marketing on all of their packages, and most of these kind of mushroom products are sold as either chocolates or gummies. Some of them are marketed as Amanita muscaria products, which is actually a legal mushroom to buy, possess, and sell in the United States in every state except for Louisiana, and a lot of the others are just marketed as mushroom or nootropic blends. In fact, if you look at the ingredient lists on a lot of these products, you'll see mushroom and or nootropic blend listed out in them. But of course, we don't know what all these proprietary blends contain, and a lot of the marketing that goes into these products revolves around, hey, we have this special nootropic blend that can mimic the effects of, psychedelics.
Are you ready for a cosmic adventure without having to leave your couch? These Desert Stardust Road Trip Gummies are the strongest single-serve mushroom gummy out there.
Ever since these products started coming out a couple years ago, forums like Reddit have hosted conversations regarding, what is in these sort of like legal mushroom products. People on these forums started reporting crazy experiences that they were having with these products, like things that you would typically expect from, like a large dose of psilocybin mushrooms. That's what these stories sounded like. So we can see in this particular thread right here, this gentleman commented that the Tray House, Polka Dot, and Road Trip brands are all legit and are very similar to actual mushrooms. The Amanita gummies are mid in comparison. Basically, they are 4-ACO-DMT or 4-HO-MET gummies, and they slap. The Road Trip Desert Stardust gummies seem to be the most potent per gummy, but all the brands I just listed are legit and worth it. So, Road Trip advertises as Amanita though, not 4-ACO. Can't find any independent lab tests to confirm one way or another. Polka Dot has so many fakes out there, though some lab tests indicate 4-ACO. One Tray House lab test indicated 4-ACO, which means the company is lying in the tests they host on their website. Ugh. Some people reported that their products were just spiked with cannabinoids, and or it felt like they got a super strong dose of some sort of research chemical benzo. And so with this influx of experience report and psychonauts sort of chiming in, the consensus soon became that most of these products contained either research chemical tryptamines, benzodiazepines, and or cannabinoids, with a majority of them containing research chemical tryptamines, in particular 4-ACO-DMT. And this is likely because a lot of these research chemicals are still available in the United States, and you can get large quantities of them for a really good price. A lot of people on Reddit, including one of my best friends, tried these gummies and said that it felt identical to 4-ACO-DMT. 4-ACO-DMT is actually a pretty fascinating molecule. It's one of my favorite psychedelics of all time. It's essentially the same thing as psilocybin. And what I mean is that whenever you consume psilocybin mushrooms, what you're consuming is psilocybin, but then also psilocin and a few other minor alkaloids. But typically it is the psilocybin that is converted into psilocin within our stomachs that makes us trip. It's the psilocin that makes us trip, not actually psilocybin. And 4-ACO-DMT, whenever you consume it, it's sort of the prodrug to psilocin as well too, meaning that once you consume 4-ACO-DMT, your body then converts it into 4-HO-DMT, which is psilocin. So it's essentially like a synthetic form of magic mushrooms. I actually really like 4-ACO-DMT for this reason. It's one of my favorite compounds of all time. It's like I said, it feels almost identical to magic mushrooms, but one thing that I've noticed with it is they're typically, and this is subjective, there does seem to be less of a body load on it, as well as there seems to be this much more accurate sort of dosaging. And I guess what I'm getting to with all this is that 4-ACO-DMT isn't the problem with the mushroom gummy market here in the United States. 4-ACO is very similar to psilocybin in terms of there seems to be very low risk of any sort of physiological danger on top of a massive potential for therapeutic value within this compound. Of course, there does come certain physiological risks and psychological risks, and these things need to be respected and approached carefully. And I think it makes it a bit difficult to approach these things carefully when they're being sneaked into products, and then you're consuming these products either not knowing that there's 4-ACO in it and or consuming 4-ACO at an unknown dosage. But 4-ACO isn't the only compound finding its way into these mushroom products. Ironically enough, people have reported them being spiked with cannabinoids as well too, and this makes sense because of the sort of crazy cannabinoid market that exists right now in the United States due to the 2018 sort of like hemp bill, which allowed for any cannabis-derived product that has less than 0.3% delta-9 THC. And so what we've seen is a massive cannabinoid market where people are finding loopholes by putting out things like delta-8 THC, HHC, stuff like that. And since there's this really massive competitive market around all of this, it's really cheap to make a lot of these cannabinoids, and it's really cheap to make a lot of these, cannabinoid gummies. People have also reported that they felt like they got research chemical benzos like within these, mushroom products, and so benzodiazepines, drugs similar to like Xanax and Klonopin, and once again this becomes incredibly dangerous for a lot of reasons, but especially because you don't know that they're in the product and you don't know at what dosage. And part of the marketing and appeal around true Amanita products is that they can help you relax and help you sleep. So these manufacturers of these counterfeit mushroom products know what they're doing. They're sneaking benzos in here in a hope to produce some sort of desirable effect within their consumer to have them come back for more. Double Blind Magazine put out a report where they bought like a dozen of these counterfeit mushroom products and had them independently lab tested, and lo and behold, almost all of them contain 4-ACO DMT. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we're looking at MK White Peach Mints. I haven't heard of this brand myself yet, but if we look here, we'll see the alkaloid content, and it looks like a good portion of it is 4-ACO DMT, and then an even larger portion of it, is psilocin. If I had to guess, this isn't because they put synthetic psilocin within their products. From my understanding, manufacturing synthetic psilocin is extremely expensive and complicated. So it was more than likely 4-ACO, which I don't know the exact sort of enzymatic process, but 4-ACO, which then was converted into psilocin somehow within the product. Okay, yeah, so I have heard of this brand, Road Trip Gummies, and same thing here. They have a bunch of 4-ACO and a bunch of psilocin. So, yeah, likely is not a nootropic blend. And then we got a polka dot bar here. This one's really interesting to me because I have seen a lot of these, and a lot of these mushroom chocolates, I think that people trust them more because it seems more likely that you could get the whole fruiting body into a whole chocolate bar compared to a gummy. But it looks like, once again, this was probably 4-ACO DMT, considering the fact that, it didn't detect any psilocybin and it was just psilocin detected. So once again, it was likely the 4-ACO DMT, which somehow got converted into psilocin. Excuse me for not knowing that exact enzymatic process, whatever. Now, you may ask, why does this work so well? And why are these products, spreading like wildfire? And I think that there's a few different factors that go into this. I think one of the things that we need to consider is this sort of weird state that we live in where prohibition is still very much real, but yet we live in this sort of psychedelic renaissance where there is a lot more people who are doing psychedelic drugs and or are interested in doing them. Products like this, in my eyes, seem to prey on the consumer who has an interest in doing psychedelic drugs but doesn't have reliable access to them. These products often have packaging and other marketing tactics which seem to indicate that you're going to have some sort of crazy psychedelic experience with them.
These little guys provide a one-way portal ticket to exactly where you want to go. From gently uplifting your mood
to a transformative odyssey, exploring the depths of consciousness.
On top of this, these companies know how powerful word of mouth is, especially if you can get yourself into a bunch of retail stores like this. All you need is one guy working at the head shop to tell all the consumers that come in, hey, I tried these mushroom gummies and I liked them. They made me trip out. I want to make it clear that I'm not making this video because I think that 4-ACO, or honestly any drug for that matter, needs to be made illegal. 4-ACO already exists in this weird gray area of the law where in some states it's just outright illegal to have, and then in other states you could technically get away with possession of it if you could prove it was just for research purposes and not for for human consumption and you had a really good lawyer. But then again, there's this thing called the Analog Act here in the United States, so who really knows? They can kind of just do what they want with you. I made this video to hopefully empower the individual so that consumers can make smart, educated decisions about what they're purchasing. I also wanted to make this video to shine light on what I think is sort of an underlying issue of all this, and that is prohibition. This weird mushroom market that has cropped up is a perfect example of how the war on drugs itself does more harm than good. If these things were brought above board and people were actually allowed to sell these products in a somewhat lightly regulated manner, then people would have access to high quality products with, a lot of transparency, and they can know the exact dosages and be educated on them, and stuff like that. This whole thing is very reminiscent of the old spice market back in like 2010. Essentially the government made a plant illegal, cannabis, and so a bunch of dudes in white lab coats started playing this crazy cat and mouse game of creating new compounds similar to THC that weren't yet banned.
I make nothing. Zero. Zilch. By the time I pay all my scientists, all my people in my research department, lab coats.
And what this led to was a bunch of dangerous synthetic cannabinoids that quite literally killed many people.
People are falling over, seizing, and
yesterday there was 4 people that we had to call 911 for.
Because they were having problems from it.
From K2.
The substance can trigger a violent reaction. The NYPD released this video that shows a naked homeless man under the influence in the street.
Another unfortunate aspect of this entire thing is that it's possibly threatening the legality of Amanita muscaria, and the Amanita muscaria is that little red top mushroom with the white dots. Like I said earlier, it's legal to buy, possess, and sell here in the United States. And there was already this sort of weird fear mongering and propaganda around Amanita muscaria before all this. A lot of people claim that it's toxic or poisonous, and truth be told, this is somewhat of a oversimplification and misrepresentation of what this mushroom actually is. So Amanita muscaria contains 3 main alkaloids that are thought to be kind of the primary constituents of the experience, although more alkaloids are being uncovered and studied. Those 3 alkaloids are muscimol, ibotenic acid, and muscarine. Muscimol has activity at your GABA receptors and seems to produce this relaxing and sort of sedating effect, whereas ibotenic acid is more glutamatergic and can lead to more of a sort of energized and focused kind of mood. And then muscarine acts directly with our muscarinic acetylcholine receptors, and so it seems to be a really potent nootropic. As you can see with all of this, there seems to be this really kind of crazy entourage effect going on with this mushroom. At lower doses, Amanita seems to really be helping people with anxiety and their sleep, and if you think about it, this is huge for our sort of modern day man in the Western world here, because it seems like anxiety and lack of sleep is one of the most common sort of sicknesses, and it plays into, those 2 things play into all other sicknesses. At medium to high doses, Amanita can be dissociative, it can be introspective, it can be confusing, it can be scary, and typically people end up going to sleep during the experience, feel like this really heavy sort of slumber kick in, and then they fall asleep and they go straight into this extremely vivid dream state. Most of the time. That's not a blanket statement, but it does seem like anecdotally that's what most people report. Where a lot of the claims of toxicity and poisonous comes from with Amanita is the ibotenic acid in it, because at large doses this can make you sick. And so a lot of these sort of horror stories that have stemmed from Amanita have been people, in an uneducated sort of manner consuming it, usually raw at large doses with a bunch of ibotenic acid. And for most people, this is going to cause things like nausea, muscle tremors, and, even worse side effects for some. And this is interesting though, because you can take larger doses of Amanita, and plenty of people do, but what you typically have to do is decarb it, which is the process of essentially making a lemon tea with the mushroom itself, and this converts some of, if not most of, that ibotenic acid into muscimol. But with all this being said, I know individuals who consume large doses of Amanita regularly who do no sort of decarb and purposely take large doses of ibotenic acid because they like the experience. And I'm not advocating for anybody else to do that. In fact, please don't. But I'm just saying there seems to be, like I said, a sort of misrepresentation of this mushroom. There's a lot more nuances to it than, probably what you've heard. So if you're wanting to take medium to larger doses of this mushroom, you can either buy the caps and learn how to decarb it yourself, and or you can buy products which are already decarbed. In full disclosure, I work for a company called Minnesota Nice Ethnobotanicals. You can look us up, look at our reviews, look us up on Reddit, whatever. We're known as being the only company essentially that has real high quality Amanita gummies. We make our Amanita gummies and a lot of our other Amanita products with a decarb extract that we make that still retains the full spectrum of alkaloids but takes down a lot of that ibotenic acid. So if you're wanting to try some Amanita gummies yourself or some of our Amanita products and or just learn more about this mushroom, then you can go to our website. It's at the link in my bio. And if you use the code Amanita Ninja, you'll get 10% off your order. But this takes us back to this sort of weird gummy phenomenon here in the United States, because unfortunately Amanita is being lumped in with these products, and with some of these articles, Amanita is being pointed to as the thing to blame, and it's being used as a marketing tactic to first of all get these products into stores, but then also to appeal to potential customers and kind of pass it off as just a legal mushroom product, because look, we're making it with this legal mushroom here in the United States with, we've heard, potential hallucinogenic properties that people don't fully understand. And so it's this really easy way to kind of put some of these research chemical tryptamines or other things into the market and say, hey, it's Amanita, because most people don't have a sort of basis for what Amanita actually should feel like or does feel like. And I really hope all of this does not lead to sort of a crackdown of Amanita or leading to it becoming illegal, because obviously, yes, once again, full disclosure, I do make money on it. But also, on top of that, we seem to have thousands of customers who genuinely benefit from this mushroom and our products. A lot of people are reporting that they're able to finally sleep again. It's helping some people with Parkinson's, it seems like. Of course, all of this is anecdotal. And then a lot of people are using it to actually help them get off of benzodiazepines and alcohol. They report that it doesn't seem to have any withdrawals for them. So seems like a magical little mushroom to me, and I really hope it doesn't become illegal, because we've seen what happens time and time again with prohibition. It's just this never-ending game that, like I said, hurts more people than it helps. And the only thing we can do right now as consumers is to educate and empower ourselves, and to try and influence the market, and by what we choose to spend our money on. I hope that you found this video informative, and I truly hope that it helps somebody out there make a smarter, more informed decision about whether or not they're going to buy these products. I hope it saves more people from being hospitalized, but yeah, other than that, subscribe, like my shit, love you guys, peace out, much love. Gabe logging off from the launch pad.